Are you ready for Pluto to be back in Aquarius for the majority of 2024? Welcome back to the Astrology Report. My name is Cam White. This is for January 15th through the 21st of 2024. And we have quite a big week this week. And stay tuned make sure you get all the way to Thursday because I have something special to announce when we start talking about Thursday. So we start Monday off with the moon in Pisces making a square to Venus first. Then it will conjoin Neptune and then ingress into Aries. The other highlight that we have on Monday is going to be the sun making a sextile to Neptune. So on Monday, as we have the moon in Sag, if you hear a bunch of background noise, I'm still recording this when there's a gigantic parade going out outside my building. So just be aware of that. So anyway, on Monday, as we have the moon in Pisces making that square to Venus, I really like this connection to the moon and Venus. They're both in a Jupiter-ruled sign. Jupiter is stationing direct. Venus is still in Jupiter's sign. Jupiter's in Venus's sign. I think with the moon in Pisces, after we got off of last week with it, hitting Saturn and then sextiling Mars and Jupiter, like I said, like it's just easier to kind of be more mature and disciplined in one way. And you see the results, like you see the benefits of that immediately after. I think the moon just making a square to Venus is like having a lot more fun with it. The only thing is like the moon making a square to Venus is like how we're feeling isn't lining up with exactly like what we want. And I don't think this is the day to be like, oh, like, I don't like this. This isn't what I want. But there's something about it where maybe we have to ask better questions or see a different perspective in order to get a lot more clarity around, exactly it is that we're trying to like envision. Venus is about pleasure, fun, connection. She's in Sagittarius, so there's a lot more adventure, a lot more, happy-go-lucky energy that's kind of going on. And I think just with the moon making that square to Venus, there's kind of like this, maybe even the environment's too hectic or, you may not be in the right emotional place to really enjoy things. But I think that's fine. As we continue on, the moon will conjoin Neptune. So again, we get that dreamy, romanticized, idealistic kind of vibe for the day. I think the moon conjoining Neptune after it squares Venus is a lot better for being a lot more creative, having a different vision with things. The only thing, again, with the moon conjoining Neptune is there's a level of confusion, a level of like feeling overwhelmed, a little bit too lost in the sauce that kind of happens. And then the moon ingresses into Aries, where we're charged up, we're energized, we're ready to go. We kind of get out of that. It's like the moon conjoining Neptune and then leaving Pisces going into Aries is like having a really crazy dream and then you wake up and you're like, whoa, like what even just happened there? But the other highlight, the main highlight that we have on Monday is the sun in Capricorn making a sextile to Neptune. So I think while the moon is conjoining Neptune and the sun's in Capricorn, right? Like our willpower, vitality, it's all connected to like our workflow, our efficiency, our systems. The sun sextiling Neptune is like, this is a good energy for like being more open-minded, for seeing things in a more idealized way in order to like help construct like, again, that system or that efficiency or energize you for that. It's like sometimes you can see like a piece of cinema that is done in such a creative way that is inspiring. And that's almost how I look at Monday. So we get into Tuesday, and on Tuesday, the moon will be in Aries and it will first make a square to Mercury and then a square to Mars. So the main thing with this is while the moon's in Aries and our emotions are really connected to, again, taking action, being assertive, like I want to do this, I want to do that, feeling very energized. The moon making a square to Mercury, while Mercury is in the superior position, is like, hey, you don't have to pull the trigger too early if that's not what's according to plan. Like you don't want to overdo things. And the moon squaring Mercury is kind of like maybe, pushing a little bit more on the gas anyway, trying to, it's kind of like, you're not following the plan because you're so emotionally energized that you're like, I just want to get this done anyway. But the issue with that is on Tuesday, the moon then squares Mars, where you going out of your way to, again, whether that's do more or to, just push yourself even more might cause like injury or stress or kind of wreck things. Like the moon in Aries squaring Mercury than Mars is like getting ahead of yourself. And while there's like a time and a place for that, I think just on Tuesday, as the moon squares Mercury and Mars in Capricorn, it's like, sometimes you don't want to get things finished too fast because then you realize, oh, I actually did something wrong and I have to go backwards and redo things again. So as the moon's making a square to Mercury, I would just ask yourself, like, what is the balance here? How can I utilize this energy and this drive and this ambition to get the things done and maybe go a little bit above and beyond? And then while the moon's making a square to Mars, just knowing when it is to stop. Because I think the moon making a square to Mars is like, you want to go faster, farther, but it's not the time right now. Like, that's not a part of the plan. And so I think if you push past that, that will cause, like, again, injury, problems. I don't want to say chaos. It's too big of a word, but just like you'll see if you do this stuff, you'll see like, oh, maybe there was a reason I was supposed to wait. Maybe there's a reason I was supposed to be patient. Because like the lack of patience on Tuesday, I think is really strong. Then we get to Wednesday, and on Wednesday is a lot more of when I think that impatience, that ambition is a lot easier to work with, because the moon's going to be conjoining the North Node, where, you know, the way I look at this is like, if you push past your limits and things go a little bit wrong, Tuesday is like, well, now you have to kind of backtrack, redo everything, and go even harder. Because the moon conjoining the North Node, like the North Node is this hunger and this drive and this urge to go in a direction. And the moon conjoining the North Node is just really like, let's turn it up to 11. Let's turn it up to 12. How much farther and faster can we go? And after the moon conjoins the North Node, it will be making a trine to Venus. And so as the moon trines Venus, there's a lot more fun and pleasure and, again, adventure and being able to be creative. I look at like Tuesday as like, you want to push yourself, you want to kind of force things to happen, and they won't go that well. And I think you just need to wait for Wednesday, because on Wednesday is like when you can really let loose. It's kind of like, for example, if you're in a fast car and you're on the freeway, you don't want to, push the throttle and break the speed limit when you're like in a city, or you know that there's kind of cops watching. When you're on, like, if you've ever traveled from Route 66 from like the Needles area, Kingman area, Vegas area to California, like you go through Amboy, feel free to go 150 miles an hour. There's no one on those roads. There's never any cops. I've traveled that road 50 to 100 times. I've only seen a cop once. Like, I think on Wednesday is going to be the day to really let loose, to go really fast. And I think as the moon's in Aries trining Venus, there's like this, kind of like getting your hands dirty, being like aggressive, but like in a very fun, playful way. So I really like Wednesday for just like going about things, letting loose, turning up the dial to 11 on whatever it is that you're doing and having fun while you're doing it. And then we get to Thursday. So Thursday's a big day. I've talked a lot about my music, and Thursday is the day I'm releasing my first song titled Captured. I will have the pre-save in the link in the description below as a link. Make sure you go to the link, pre-save it. It should be on your Spotify once it's posted. I will also be reminding you guys to check it out throughout the week. I will be making other posts about it. If you haven't already, follow my Instagram at CamWhiteAstro. And follow my Instagram for my music, which is at Spyca Music. Spyca is SPYCA Music on Instagram, to keep up to date with all of this stuff. I've talked about it for a long time. I'm really excited and proud of this song. I want you all to, of course, I want you all to check it out. I know a good majority of you are not going to be into this type of music, but I do know a lot of you will actually really enjoy the song for what it is. I'm really excited for this day, because on Thursday, the moon will ingress into Taurus. It's going to sextile Saturn. It will then trine Mercury, and then it will conjoin Jupiter, and then it'll trine Mars. We get Mercury first sextiling Saturn, and then we get Mercury trining Jupiter. I'm really excited for the astrology of this day. I think it's really, really good. And I think it's about time. I have so much music to release and to put out for you guys. I'm super excited, but trust me, I will be spamming everything to make sure people check this out, because I've been talking about it for so long. So if you want to support me, if you just want to hear what I've been working on, make sure you check it out. The pre-save will be in the link, but of course I will be posting it on Thursday. You'll see it all over my social medias. So make sure you check it out. I would really, really, really appreciate it, especially because I've just been fucking talking about it for so long. But on Thursday, as the moon ingresses into Taurus, right? The moon being about comfort and our bodies going into Taurus, like it's exalted sign. So there's a lot better feeling of like stability and security. It will sextile Saturn, where it's like, okay, like I said last week with like Saturn, the moon conjoining Saturn and Pisces is like getting over an emotional wall, getting over an emotional challenge. The moon, making that sextile to Saturn and Taurus is like, it feels comfortable being on the other side. It feels comfortable knowing that you did all of that. I look at like the moon in Aries conjoining the North Node and trining Venus the day before. And then the moon in Taurus here on Thursday is like, nothing feels better than putting in a ton of effort into something. Like when you can exhaust yourself physically and even like mentally, because you put everything in your all, and then you can just like get a deep sleep. You can rest, you can relax knowing you put all of this energy into something. That's how I look at the moon in Taurus, making that sextile to Saturn is like, there was a reward there. And then the moon, while it's in Taurus, makes that trine to Mercury, and at this time too, Mercury's sextiling Saturn, it's trining Jupiter. The moon will be it's contacting all these planets. It's like all of these pieces are coming together where there's a lot of stability, there's a lot of security. This is all earth signs, right? This is like, okay, this is what's happening. This is what's real. This does make me feel secure. This does give me a foundation. This does give me, a place to rest. The moon making that trine to Mercury while Mercury's in Capricorn is like, if you follow the plan, you stick to the plan, everything's just easier, if that makes sense. Like the moon in Taurus trining Mercury in Capricorn is like when you can develop systems that are efficient, that you don't have to think about all the time. They just work. They just work while you're like not working. Like you don't have to put your mental energy onto something all the time if you can develop a plan or a system to manage it. And so I look at the moon in Taurus trining Mercury as like, if you create the right system, if you create the right plan, that can allow you more time to relax and have less stress. The moon will then conjoin Jupiter, where now there's this, and this all happens very early in the morning. The moon will then conjoin Jupiter, where now there's this like excitement. There's this like, look at my bountiful harvest. Look at all the things that I have created. Look at what is growing. Like you're seeing the fruits of your labor, I think, as the moon conjoins Jupiter. And then as the moon trines Mars, that just excites you to like keep moving forward, to keep putting the energy in there, to keep like doing the things that you were doing because you saw the success of it earlier that day. This all happens first thing in the morning. And then on Thursday, we also have Mercury making a sextile to Saturn. And while Mercury's in Capricorn, again, sextiling Saturn, which is its ruler at this point, we're connecting dots. Like what I love about this kind of stuff, when you get like planets that are all in either like fire and air signs or earth and water signs, and they're making sextiles and trines, it's like, it's just connecting dots. And you got like Mercury sextiling Saturn is like, oh, if I, again, you see the value, you understand the value of being disciplined, of seeing things through, of sticking to this plan, of again with Saturn and Pisces, having that maturity, that internal growth. And you get like that self-respect stuff too. And then Mercury makes a trine to Jupiter where you're like, oh, now that I've seen, if I stick to this plan, I start to see the results. Now I'm even more excited because now I see the long term. It's like, you know, there's so many things that we can question in life where it's like you're starting something new and you're like, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know what it's going to end up being like. And you get all worried. But if you just trust the process, which is such a big thing, like we have such distrust around our processes or our plans. And if we just make that plan, stick with it, and we trust that process, at a certain point, you will see the rewards of it, the outcomes. And I just look at Mercury sextiling Saturn as like, oh shit, like I stuck to this. I'm seeing how this is working. And then Mercury trining Jupiter is like, oh, like this makes me more excited. Now I have the faith in this. With Jupiter and Taurus too, Jupiter is again belief, it is faith, it is hope, it is abundance. It's in Taurus. It's in, again, slow and steady wins the race. This is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. This is enjoying, again, like the fruits of your labor, really emphasizing what do we value? What is going to make us feel more secure? What is like the best, nicest thing that we can like, again, Jupiter and Taurus is like, what does it mean to have value into something? Like, do you value, this is something I talked about last summer with the Venus retrograde squaring Jupiter. It's like, do you value like cheap, fake gold, or do you value the real thing? And sure, it might've took you a long time to save up the money for that real thing, for that real gold, but you see the value in it. And so I love Mercury making a trine to Jupiter after it's sextile Saturn. Everything's just kind of getting connected here. You're connecting the dots mentally. Everything on Thursday morning is just great. So I'm really excited for the day for Thursday. I really like this election. So make sure you guys check out the song. And like I said, you're going to fucking know about it because I'm not going to shut up about it for a long time. Also with the song, I will post my YouTube page where I will be posting things like lyric videos, music videos, all types of behind the scenes content over on my YouTube page as well. At this time, I will have a TikTok going, so I'll make sure to add all the links to that below, probably in the description and the comments, so you guys can check all those out so you guys can see all the content that I've been working for a long time on. We get to Friday, and on Fridays when the moon, while it's in Taurus, is going to conjoin Uranus, and then it will sextile Neptune. So the moon in Taurus conjoining Uranus, number one is like, again, there's some sort of a disruption here. There's some sort of a independent, freeing kind of a vibe. it can be destabilizing, which again, depending on how things are going for you, like, it could be better or worse. But I look at all this Capricorn stuff and this Pisces stuff with the moon conjoining Uranus is like, this is some sort of a liberating, freeing feeling. This is exciting. This is like, I have done something different. The moon conjoining Uranus, I am being innovative about the way that I put my value into things. The moon in Taurus is I'm being innovative of what makes me feel secure, what makes me feel stable, what makes me feel nourished and replenished. And as the moon makes a sextile to Neptune after that, there is this, see, like, again, having contact with another creative way of looking at things, another idealistic way of looking at things, another way to envision a situation. It's like, when things are good in your life and you've got a good situation and then like you romanticize the good situation and that even getting better in the future. That's how I kind of look at the moon sextiling Neptune. But the big highlight that we have on Friday is Venus squaring Neptune. I don't mind this. I really don't. Because I think as Venus is in Sag, squaring Neptune and Pisces, I think one of the only things would be like, it is important to not have too much fun. Like if you're at like a rave and maybe you take a little Molly and then maybe you take a little acid and then you maybe take a little ketamine. It's like, if you're not going to be sober, that's fine, but let's not go overboard. Let's not completely obliterate ourselves. While Venus is in Sagittarius, there's a lot of this fun, this adventure. Let's go here. Let's go there. I'm excited about what my visionary process is. And again, Venus is in Jupiter's sign and Jupiter's in Venus's sign. So there's like this connection that we're having with like what our beliefs are. And our belief is being connected to like, or I should say Venus is enjoying like philosophy, faith, hope. And Jupiter is all about faith and hope and seeing the value, like looking more again, like what do I value? What makes me feel stable? And what makes me feel secure? And again, Venus is in Sag. It's like, well, having hope, having faith, seeing the bigger picture is what's doing that. So there's this really positive aspect. And I just think with Venus and Sag squaring Neptune in Pisces, that can still get overwhelming. Like it is like overstimulating. And I think with Venus squaring Neptune, you have to be careful of like getting too lost in the sauce. Like sometimes, like for me, I can get super excited about something I'm working on and think about the future and I get all this excitement, but then all of a sudden I get overwhelmed of what to do next and I'm all scattered everywhere. That's what you don't want to do. Like, so try to catch yourself in that moment and like work on that. But I think with Venus squaring Neptune too, it's like what fun is for us squaring Neptune is like, is that fun? Is that really what we want? Is this what exactly we envisioned it? It's like, for example, some people be like, I really want to get drunk. And then you get really drunk and then you can't see straight. You're tumbling, you're throwing up. Like Venus and Sag squaring Neptune is like, oh, we're going to have a fun time going out drinking tonight. And then by the end of the night, you're like vomiting and you feel like shit. And it's like, oh, that wasn't that fun. That's how I look at Venus and Sag squaring Neptune and Pisces. It's like, let's be a little bit clear about what fun is. Let's be a little bit clear about what enjoyment and pleasure is. Because I think with Venus squaring Neptune, you'll kind of get slapped in the face with it of like, oh, that actually wasn't all that fun. Oh, that actually wasn't what exactly I wanted out of that scenario. Then we get to Saturday, and Saturday is really the big day of the week. We have the moon ingressing into Gemini and making a square to Saturn essentially for the whole day. We have the sun conjoining Pluto. We have the sun moving into Aquarius. We have Mercury leaving shadow, and then Pluto entering Aquarius. So a lot going on here. The moon going into Gemini, our emotions are connected more with conversation, with communicating with one another, but the moon will make a square to Saturn. As I like to say with the moon and Gemini squaring Saturn Pisces is like that fear of like oversharing, that fear of like, oh, what are they going to think of this? Or, I said this and oh man, I shouldn't have said that. And why did I say that? Again, that comes back to the Saturn Pisces of like the emotional maturity. So I think with the moon and Gemini, it's like, again, squaring Saturn, maybe be careful what you say, maybe be careful what you think. But I think what is nice about it is there's a challenge there of like, okay, you said that. Are you going to crumble yourself inward and be like, stupid, stupid, stupid? Or are you going to be like, hey, I said that and I meant it and I said what I said. Like there's no going back. So I might as well like, not worry about it. The sun conjoins Pluto in Capricorn. This is the last one that we get. The sun conjoining Pluto, because I'm not going to call it a Kazemi. I'm just not. This is technically our first transit to Pluto while Pluto goes into Aquarius. Like Mars will conjoin Pluto, which is also like our first transit. Technically, the sun hits Pluto in Capricorn and then separates by the time Pluto goes into Aquarius, but they'll still be at the same degree, just like quite a few minutes off. But the sun conjoining Pluto is highlighting two things. It's going to be highlighting fear. It's going to be highlighting power. My thing is, what do you want that to be? Because for me personally, and what I saw in a lot of my clients' lives is like for a few people, Pluto moving into Aquarius definitely created some fear around another area of their life. But so many people were just like, oh, I felt not Pluto in this fucking zodiac sign that it's been in for 15 years. So I look at the sun conjoining Pluto as if the sun is our willpower, our vitality, our energy, it's in Capricorn, like systems, and Pluto's there. It's like there's some sort of an empowerment feeling here. There's some sort of a death too. Like, what do you want to kill off? And I mean that more in like a interpersonal way. Like, what parts of you are dead? Capricorn rules old ways of doing things, rules tradition. What are the old parts of you that need to die off? Because then the sun enters Aquarius and the sun will be in detriment. So there is this lack of willpower. There is this lack of vitality immediately after. So I look at the sun conjoining Pluto as like, when you think of like a death, or like, let's say you put your everything into something and you go through a transformative experience and then you just like, all of your energy goes away because you put all of your energy there. That's how I kind of look at it. The sun going into Aquarius is now low energy. Now, not having that willpower and that vitality. It is being at the detriment of other people and, the people that are around you. So do you have good people around you? Mercury leaves shadow at this point. So there is this, okay, we did the whole Mercury retrograde, shenanigans. We changed our plans. We had delays with them. We moved on to new territory, or now we're moving on into new territory. We're done with this past stuff that we've been dealing with since December. So Mercury in Capricorn is, again, logic, rationale, planning, communicating in the sign of, like, again, structure, systems, efficiency. Then Pluto moves into Aquarius. And I've already done 2 very deep dive episodes of Pluto and Aquarius on the delineation. But I think as Pluto goes into Aquarius, the vibe shift is here. Like, that's the easiest way I've been able to communicate it, is it is a vibe shift. We are moving on into something different. Pluto rules fear, corruption, power, transformation, and it's going into the sign of the people. There's 2 ways of looking at this. One, there's going to be groups of societies that are weaponized. Technology is going to be weaponized. And again, you're going to start seeing a lot more fear around the AI. Fear around, people are actually starting to wake up to like, oh, maybe the surveillance state is not a good idea. Maybe, filling our bodies full of unregulated pharmaceutical drugs that we're mandated to take is not a good idea. Maybe the governments in the world don't actually have the best intentions for their people. And there's both a death and a transformation within what the people are, what society is. And this is a 20-year-long transit. We got a lot to go. And we moved into a triplicity shift. We are alive for a shift in humanity. And that's really what Pluto and Aquarius is. But on a more singular level, on like a more personal level, you will see the area of fear and empowerment. And I say empowerment specifically for a reason, because Pluto does rule power. And fear is very powerful. What house is Pluto going into your chart? And where can you access and tap into more power through there? And again, power is not given, it's earned. You have to, like, again, with Pluto, it's like you will feel empowered by the end of it. You will have gone through a formal transformation in the next 20 years over this area. But it starts here with, like, again, some sort of I want to take this on, or I'm scared of this. I don't like this. However, I have to face these fears. Saturday is a big vibe shift. That's the easiest way I could say it. And that continues throughout the rest of this year. We get about 2 months of Pluto back into Capricorn from September to November. And then it's Pluto and Aquarius for the next 20 years. We get to Sunday, and the moon is just hanging out in Gemini. That's really it. There's not any transits going on Sunday. So as we get into next week we will have Venus ingress into Capricorn. I love Venus in Capricorn. Very boss bitch energy, having fun with, again, work and labor and, like managerial things, all fun. We get the full moon in Leo. It is time to gain some confidence up. We love that. We have Mercury conjoining Mars. we're gonna be really sharp with our tongues. But man, we're like Mercury conjoining Mars in Capricorn is just like everything's so businessy. And again, maybe you don't have a business, or maybe you don't like labor and you're anti-capitalist or whatever, but there's like such good ways to use Capricorn shit, like making plans and systems. And Mercury conjoining Mars is just like getting into the weeds of it and like, having fun, being surgical about it. And we have Venus trining Jupiter. Venus in Capricorn trining Jupiter and Taurus is very much like, again, stock buyback. Like it's very much like, oh, I'm going to make money the easiest way through the system. It's like stock buybacks and like depreciating assets, to get rid of tax burdens and shit like that. Venus in Capricorn trining Jupiter and Taurus is great. It's just that by the time we get to Saturday, there's a big vibe shift. So that's what I've got going on for you guys. Again, I'll make sure you guys get informed of when this song is getting posted to make sure you check it out. Thank you so much for supporting me through everything I've done, everything I've been through. It's really cool to be able to share my music to an audience I've already developed, and I know you guys are excited to listen to it. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're just going to talk shit, and I think that's fine. Talk your shit. But I'm just really grateful to have this platform to be able to speak about this stuff that I'm so passionate about, and then be able to also share other things I'm passionate about, like my music, to people that are interested. So I'm going to leave it off with that. Make sure you comment below what you're excited about for this week. Make sure you like. It's going to help the algorithm for me, and I'll be seeing you next week.